What is up, boxing fans? This is the Sweet Science, and I am your host, Jeff. We will pretty much jump right in this week, man. This is episode 4. For me, we'll call it boxing and bourbon tonight. We'll get a little bit of bourbon going. Trying to get myself a little bit more relaxed. Got my room set up now to where hopefully it won't be interrupted, anything like that. I have to worry about any interruptions. And we can kind of jump into this week, man. I'm behind. It's already Saturday. A couple of fights that I've already watched today. Earlier today across the pond. So let's jump right in, man, to last week's action. Loma Haney, people who didn't agree with the decision on that fight, became a big thing over the internet. People talking about, oh, it was a robbery. Let's stop the robbery thing right there. I mean, a 115, 113 fight is not a robbery. That was a close fight. Really hard to judge that fight. I don't know how. Uh, I mean, I know through the first 6 rounds, like I myself was having problems, trouble deciding who I thought was winning that fight. I couldn't, Loma, he moves his feet a lot. He's got a lot of footwork. I said that his footwork is amazing. So he looks like the busier fighter. And when he throws punches, he throws them in bunches. Punches and bunches. They say that for a reason. He gets right in there with them. But Loma, or Haney was going to the body of Loma, and he seemed like he was landing maybe the cleaner punches I felt like he was. I took Haney, honestly, 115, 113. That was my decision at the end. I honestly took Haney in that fight, and I took Haney for one reason. Mainly, uh, I thought, yes, Loma took over in the second round of that fight. Yes, he did, man. He definitely took over in the second round of that fight. He was doing good in the first half of the fight. In the second round, he kind of took over that, I want to say, ninth, 10th round mainly. Those 2 rounds where he pretty much dominated. And in the 11th round, he dominated the first half of the 11th round where it looked like he might have had Haney hurt a little bit, his knees shaking a little bit. At least that's what I thought I saw from Haney. Uh, and then he didn't finish the job in the 11th. He allowed Haney to recover, and then Haney kind of come back in that 11th. And then going into the 12th round, Loma just kind of disappeared, man. He didn't come out throwing and punches and bunches, not like he needed to finish that fight, almost as if he thought he did enough to win the fight already, which, bad mistake on his part. He did the same thing against Lopez when he did not finish that fight against Teofimo. He kind of lost that 12th round of that fight, which I thought Teo kind of dominated. Anyway, that's a whole nother fight. But fact is, I thought the 12th round could have been a round that definitely lost the fight for Loma. I mean, we'll talk about Dave Moretti's scorecard a little bit, 116, 112. I didn't agree with that. I thought it was a little bit over the top. But let's not forget, Dave Moretti is 70 years old. Probably shouldn't be judging fights at this point anymore. He's had so many like controversial cards or things that you're like, what the hell was that? The Triple G Canelo first fight. Like he pretty much his scorecard didn't make any sense at all in that fight. It kind of determined Canelo getting that first fight or the draw on that first fight, whatever. But Dave Moretta's card was off the wall, thought way out there. The rest of the cards, 115, 113, exactly where I was at on the fight. I would have said it was 7-5 in the favor of Haney. Not saying that Loma didn't come out and fight a hell of a fight, but I think Haney going to the body with Loma was genius, 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 genius. Not too many people have done that. Kind of chop him down a little bit. He's an older fighter, so go to his body, slow him down a little bit. And I thought Haney did just enough to win that fight. But after watching that fight, my opinion kind of changed a little bit about Haney. Don't get me wrong, his boxing skills are above and beyond. But the one fault I've always had on him is he has no power. He doesn't have any power whatsoever. No way he's taken Tank 12 rounds. No way. Tank knocks him out. Shakur is young, but I still think Shakur might beat him. I'm still up in the air on that one. I think once Shakur gets a little bit more under his belt at the 135, fights a few other guys, maybe fights Loma. I'd like to see him fight Cruz. I don't know why that fight's not being set up. Come on, man, that would be a banger. I know Cruz's dad said I don't want any of that. That's That's weak though. Cruz is a beast. I call him the Mexican Tyson. So he's a beast. I would love to see that guy and Shakur in the ring together. That would be a great fight for Shakur. I favor Shakur in that. Shakur is right now my favorite young up and coming guy who I think will be the face of boxing within the next few years. Definitely a guy that guys don't want to come up against right now. But if Haney faced him, I think that would be a 50-50 fight. Shakur has the power advantage. They're both pretty big. I mean, Shakur's a big 135 guy, so he'll be moving to 140 at some point. That's also the talk that Haney isn't going to take another fight at 135. He's going to go sign with Matchroom. He's going to go sign with Eddie Hearn, and he's going to, possibly look at a fight with Prograis, who they have there. They've got Montana Love fighting this, I think this weekend coming up, or next weekend, or actually next weekend. Montana Love, I think, fights on a fight card. If he can win, he kind of he. I'm 50-50 on Montana Love. He'll dominate Montana Love, in my opinion. But at 140, possibly if Garcia and Rolly fight each other, then Garcia wins that fight, in my opinion. Rolly's garbage. But hate to say that. I don't like saying that about fighters. Sorry. No offense. Won't say he's garbage, but not impressed with Rolly at all. So, but I think Ryan beats Rolly, takes that belt from Rolly, then you could set up a Haney versus Garcia fight. But outside of that, that's really all Matchroom has to offer him is Prograde and Garcia. So what do? You sign a 2 fight deal and then try to go back to Matchroom or try to go back to Top Rank where you're going to have Teofimo, you're going to have Taylor, which I don't know. I heard Teofimo may not be there. So if you get Teo to come over to Matchroom, that fight right there would be a heck of a fight between Haney and Teofimo, who I think loses against Taylor, anyways. But that's a whole nother fight. Anyways, my opinion on that fight was that Haney won that fight. It definitely wasn't a robbery. There's no such thing as a robbery in a 115, 113 card. That's just silly to say. I see a lot of people out there saying it, but that's, big fights like this always bring casuals to the sport. So, you get guys out there who go, oh, it's a robbery. That fight was definitely hard to judge. And the only guy I would say Dave Moretti's card was off the wall. Outside of that, I took Haney in the fight. So let's also move over to the other big fight that happened. We watched Katie Kaler lose to Chantel Cameron, who was clearly the bigger fighter. Clearly the bigger fighter in that. Katie moving up to 140. Don't know if that was a great decision for her. The size was, you know, obvious, and Chantel was landing the cleaner, harder punches. Katie was boxing. She boxed great. She does what Katie Kaler does. She throwing punches and bunches. She was getting in there. She was interacting. She was being backed down by the bigger fighter, so she was fighting on the back foot on the defense. But she was still landing heavy punches, landing punches, but not enough power to hurt Chantel, the bigger fighter. And then Chantel was landing very nice, clean punches on her. So that was, obvious in that fight. The undercard on that fight. Oh, let's go back to the undercard on the Loma and Haney fight, which we got to watch Oscar Valdez on that just absolutely dominate his guy, in my opinion, dominated him. Uh, Adam Lopez, I think it was. Adam Lopez, something like that. Dominated that guy, showed a good outing, and then now I'm hearing Oscar Valdez versus Emmanuel Navarrete, one of my favorite fighters. Personally, one of my favorite fighters. Him and Oscar set for August 12th. Coming up, a fight that was scheduled before, but we know what happened there. That derailed that fight, but now it's supposedly back on track after his showing in his last fight. So that is a fight I'm definitely highly looking forward to. Let's not forget the Maloney brother getting knocked out. Oh, vicious knockout in that fight. Hopefully he's okay. Everything's good there, and he can bounce back. We watched the one Maloney brother. I want to say Jason Maloney, who won the belt the previous week. His brother did not have the same outcome this week. He took a vicious knockout in a fight that he was just getting dominated in. We watched him get knocked out twice earlier in the round, and then just his ring. I remember his ring telling him personally in the 11th round, should we stop this fight? We want to go back out. We think we should stop it. If we don't see you doing anything, we're going to stop it. If you're thinking that in the 11th, stop the fight. Obviously, what the hell is the 12th round going to do? He had lost that fight clearly. Nothing he could have done in the 12th round besides clearly knock the guy out, and he wasn't going to do that. So I'm drawing a blank on his opponent's name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that, but I'll try to come back around if I can remember his name and give him some props on a hell of a knockout and a hell of a fight. Honestly, can't believe I can't remember the guy's name. But anyways, Maloney's corner should have stopped that fight. Shouldn't have let him go out in the 12th round where he got knocked out. He was clearly tired, fatigued in the corner, and a fighter is never going to tell you he's not going to go out there. He wants to go out on his shield. So as a corner guy and as his manager and all of them guys as trainers, you got to protect him from that point to where he's going to do something like that to himself. And then got a vicious knockout. And hopefully, like I said, the kid's okay. He's okay. But over on the Katie Taylor Cameron card, we saw some good fights, a bunch of Irish fights. And then they invited the one Mexican to the party, the one Mexican to this party, Felix Jr. The guy's like 39 wins, something like that. He's got 30 knockouts. Well, he absolutely took the air out of the arena by knocking out Gary Cooley in the third round, knocked him silly, and then went from there to end up getting a KO on Cooley. But like I said, over in Europe, guys, stop inviting the Mexicans to the party. They will ruin it for you every time. Dude, you guys should know at this point not to invite those guys. They beat you almost every time. They pretty much dominate Europe. Mexicans love it over there. They live over there just to fight and dominate you guys. So stop inviting them to the party. That was silly. Gary Cooley. Hopefully he's good too. Took a nice little knock on the chin. We didn't get to see the women's undercard on there. Something happened to that where Terry was actually put on the card this week for the I want to say the Conlon fight this weekend, uh, and Alberto Lopez fight this weekend. She was put on that card. But anyways, that fight, it was a great weekend for boxing. I watched about 11 and a half, 12 hours of boxing that Saturday. A lot of boxing, a lot of boxing. My brain was just overloaded. I wanted to do a recap, but I was just so overloaded with just all day watching it. I had to work in the morning. I had to be up at work. I had to be up for 6 a.m. for work. So I mean, it was 1:30 in the morning. I was like, man, I'm overloaded. I need to go to bed. But it was overall just a great night for boxing. Definitely no controversy. We cannot say the Devin Haney Lopez or Loma fight was a controversy. It was no controversy there, man. It was a great fight overall. It was really close. Great week for boxing. May was a very strong month for boxing. That gets us into this week's fights, where you had a lot of good fights this week with Alberto Lopez versus Conlon coming back off a vicious knockout from Wood over a year ago, I think it was. I think that's the last time he was in the ring. 12 rounds with Wood and then got knocked out in the 12th. But then came in this week and took a vicious knockout again in the fifth round to Lopez. So let's just hope, man, this kid can rebound. Two big knockouts. I don't know if he needs to move down in weight, what he might want to do to adjust. You can't build a chin. I mean, you can build footwork. You can try to build you some power. You can't build a chin. If you don't have the chin, you don't have the chin. And needless, sad to say, Conlon may not have the chin. Alberto showed that this week. But then you had the Wood versus Lara fight. Early yesterday, Lara didn't make weight. Was a bad. He was 129.4 coming in on a 126 pound card. So he was definitely overweight. They didn't allow him to drain the weight, so pretty much he was fighting for nothing. He lost his belt regardless of what happened tonight. Even if Wood didn't win, it would have just been up in the air. They would have had to schedule a fight for that. But he came out and Wood said, I mean, 3 months, 3 months ago, guys, 3 months ago, Lara knocked Wood out in the seventh round, knocked him cold. Wood was winning that fight, and Lara just hit him foul. Lara, one of the hardest punchers in that division, knocked him cold. 3 months ago, February, and I'm looking and I'm checking and I'm looking and I'm like, how in the hell? No way, this happened. I remember the fight, but it didn't seem like it was that soon because nobody rematches in 3 months. Nobody rematches in 3 months, so it was kind of mind blowing that this guy had rematch. Wood took that rematch in 3 months. He didn't want to wait 6 months like most rematches do. I wanted it in 3 months. He said he watched that tape every day. He watched that knockout. He watched himself get knocked out. He knew he was winning that fight. He watched himself get knocked out. Well, today he redeemed himself, came out, redeemed Europe just a little bit, at least for this fight. That still makes him 1 million, one versus 1 million to the Spanish Mexican fighters. But Lara uh, did knock him down early in the fight. Wood still got up to continue and win that fight, dominated pretty much. Did what he did in the last fight, just avoided that big punch that he needed to avoid, and did a great job doing it. Unanimous, unanimous, unanimously. You know what the hell I'm saying. He won the fight unanimously, and which was great on him to redeem himself. And then, Britain, UK, they're going to celebrate tonight. They finally beat a Mexican fighter. That's great for them. There's a couple other ones on there tonight. You got Rocha fighting tonight, which is actually on now. So the fight card started around 5 o'clock. I'm going to try to catch some of that once I jump off of here. But I also want to get into Ryan Garcia choosing a trainer. He went with the trainer, Spence's trainer. I'm going to come up on a damn blank now. Damn trainer of the year, everything, and I'm not going to remember this guy's name. Damn it. I can't remember his name. Shit. Good trainer. He's got Spence, he's got Charlo, and he's got Frank Martin, and all those guys are monsters. Tough guys. So he's definitely a great trainer. I want to say Derek James. Derek James is what's coming to mind. Derek James. Is it a good choice for Garcia? Honestly, man, if this guy puts in the dedication, he's got him a hell of a trainer that's going to work with him. I don't know if you can really build his footwork that much that fast, but definitely put him up against Rolly. Coming up next, a guy that he can redeem himself with, probably knock Rolly out, but get in there and really work with him, get him away from social media, get him away from the cameras. That's been his downfall. Honestly, man, he loves the cameras. He likes being a pretty boy. He likes the attention. Hey, it happens, man. That's part of sports, and that's part of becoming famous. And being a pretty boy like Ryan Garcia, he gets that attention, and sometimes it's hard to you know redeem get away from it. But you call yourself a man of God. If that's what you are, uh, then take that as don't be vain. Stop being vain. Stop wanting to be in front of the cameras. Put the work in the gym. You have the skill, you have the speed, you have the power, but speed and power don't win anything when you're facing a guy like Tank in there with an IQ way above you, and he's a step ahead of you. And if you're not a step ahead of him, then the same result happens every time against bigger, better fighters than you. Haney will dominate you. Haney will dominate you. His IQ level, he will box you for 12 rounds and embarrass you, and then you may not even come back from that. So I would suggest you definitely take the advice of your new trainer, a hell of a trainer, trainer of the year. Got three great guys in the stable, good guys that you might be working with and around. So learn and get back out there, Ryan, man. Get back out and try to get back on that horse and become one of the top in the 140 division. Uh, Definitely look forward to seeing that and his decision. Uh, I can't think of much other news right now. Of course, Fury's running his chops. Nothing that he's settled. I heard Usyk did take the purse bid for the Dubai fight. That's supposed to be set for August. Anthony Joshua is supposed to be set for September to fight. What I've been hearing was White, Dillian White. Yeah. Once again, that fight not interested. Maybe a tune-up fight to a possible Wilder versus Joshua fight. That fight definitely want to see because I think Wilder's going to knock him out. Uh, But yeah, I mean, overall, awesome week. Last week for boxing was definitely great for boxing as a boxing fan. Definitely loved what I saw. Look, this week's fight so far haven't been bad. The undercards weren't bad so far. Sorry for being late on this episode. It's probably going to be a shorter episode. I still had to edit, throw some things in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, Lord. Almost forgot. We can't forget about what was released this week. One of the biggest fights in boxing. Spence Crawford set for July 29th. Oh, God. And I also forgot Inouye and Fulton is set for July later, right after. I'm going to say July, the same weekend as that. Uh, God, yeah, two big fights set this week. Spence Crawford. I mean, Spence throws 70 freaking punches around, and Crawford throws maybe 30 punches around. But Crawford lands cleaner punches, harder punches. I mean, how's this going to go? This fight right here, I don't know who you're a fan of or how you decide this fight. I'm a fan of both of these guys. I think they're both awesome, and it's great to see this fight happen after years and years of just ducking each other. I don't know if it was ducking or they just couldn't get it done or why it didn't happen, but these guys definitely should have fought years ago. I remember hearing earlier in the week on a boxing podcast that I listen to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names. They're out to one of my favorites out there. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get in trouble or anything. But one of my favorite boxing podcasts that I was listening to were saying that possibly this fight might be past its prime. No way, dude. These guys are in their prime right now. Honestly, they haven't been fighting a lot, so they're not wore down. They're not beat up. They're both still in their prime, and I think you're going to see a heck of a fight. And I don't want to throw out there who I think's going to win. It's hard for me, but I'm leaning more towards Crawford in this fight just because, man, he lands clean, heavy punches, and I don't know if Spence can take it. But Crawford's never been pressured the way Spence is going to pressure him with 70 punches around. I mean, he's not going to quit. He's going to pressure him. He's going to back him down. And I expect Crawford to land a big counter punch on Spence. It's going to lay him down to the mat. And but I don't know. It's just a prediction. You can't really. It's just my prediction. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just my prediction. But you also got the Inoue Fulton fight set up uh, also for the week, which is awesome. Around the same time later in July, so July is setting up to be an awesome month for boxing. After we're going to probably see a snoozer in June. It's almost like a bye week, a bye month for boxing. I mean, the one of the biggest fights, Clarissa Shields versus Gabriella, has now got a new opponent coming in for Clarissa as Gabriella is facing some kind of PED situation. Not for sure what is going on there. I don't want to speak too much on what I haven't read more into, but just what I'm hearing is something to do with some kind of PED situation. So she's off that card, and there will be a new girl in that spot, which Clarissa will probably dominate. But June, maybe a couple more fights will be set up. Of course, you do have the Lopez versus Taylor versus Lopez fight. That's going to be awesome in June. That'll probably try to hold June up a little bit. That'll give you something to look forward to. Those two guys fighting each other. I'm taking Taylor in that fight. I think Lopez, he gets too flashy. He tries to put on too much of a show. Another guy who I think likes the camera, likes the attention a little too much, and has the wrong people around him. Honestly, I don't think his dad is the right person in his corner. Not saying his dad being in his life, dude, that is awesome because my dad wasn't in my life. So I praise that dude's dad for being there with his son the way he is, in the same way I'm going to be with my kids. As you see up here, I got my boxing gloves for my kids, man. You know what I mean? And I got four, so one of these kids are going to be my boxer. That's what I'm at least hoping. But I don't want to be that guy who influences my kid's career too much, and I think that's what Lopez's father has done. Saw him just give bad advice that whole Cambosa fight in the corner, just continuously telling him to swing instead of, hey, slow it down, pace yourself, steady this fight, slow this fight down, bring him to you. And he didn't do that. He kind of let him just continue to go out there and swing wildly like he was, like it was Rocky 3. And and he was Mr. T out there just wailing around just with no, Karen and Rocky, Kambosa did the same. But anyway, I think that is a bad thing in his corner, which I think is holding him back. I think a big time trainer could really take Lopez to the next level. His talent is up there with just about anybody. It's just his mental doesn't match up with it. So I think that's his downfall. Taylor has to come back after a tough fight against Contrell, who everybody says he lost to. That was a tough fight, man. Honestly, I didn't want to say he lost to Cottrell. It took me a minute to really accept the fact that he did. But yeah, he definitely lost to Cottrell. Cottrell, in my opinion, dominated that fight. Taylor didn't show up for the fight. I don't know if it was training or he was just on that high horse of, hey, I just want all these belts, blah, 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 going around. That can happen to fighters, get out of their mental. So let's hope he's back in his normal state and he shows that against Lopez, which will be a great fight to see. I don't want to keep rambling on here, but hey, man, awesome. Thank you guys. Sorry for being late on episode 4 of the Sweet Science. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm your host, Jeff, and I want to say thank you to all the boxing fans out there. Leave your comment down below of maybe topics you want to talk about that I'll hit on. If you got something down there, fighters that you're looking forward to seeing, fights that you want to see, maybe guys I don't know about, man. Introduce me to some new guys, man. Introduce me to some new fighters. I love that. I try to keep up as much as I can with boxing, man. I'm a fanatic. Every day I'm on the computer looking at, to see what the newest news is, what fights are coming up, what might be going down, what the talk is. And boxing's got a lot of rumors, but hit me to somebody you might like. And I'll check them out, and we'll talk about them, whatever. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Jeff. Thank you. You guys have a great night, man.